Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. So keep in mind that people like to change the sound of my voice to try to pretend that their presentations are magically better. And as a result, it makes it more wrong to listen to other people. So you have one teacher, and that is me. If you want, you can read the annotations, but you should be careful because they tend to change the words there. So you have to kind of check it with the video anyway. And it's very sad that, these rich whites, these rich Jews, these rich LGBT people on behalf of America and Europe and Israel and Australia and Canada and the whole Western and kind of white world and all the nations of the world that follow that formula, which is basically all of them, that they've done this horrible thing, right? There's no honor among thieves. They're thieves, I'm not. And there's no honoring the traditions of thieves, right? That also is an application of the saying that there's no honor among thieves. Think about it. Ezekiel 19, a lament over Israel's princes. Take up a lament concerning the princes of Israel, and say, what a lioness was your mother among the lions. She lay down among them and reared her cubs. She brought up one of her cubs, and he became a strong lion. He learned to tear the prey, and he became a man-eater. The nations heard about him, and he was trapped in their pit. They led him with hooks to the land of Egypt. Okay, because they were doing the wrong thing, right? So you see the 12 tribes and the story of Joseph, and they end up being brought to Egypt. When she saw her hope unfulfilled, her expectation gone, she took another of her cubs and made him a strong lion. He prowled among the lions, for he was now a strong lion. He learned to tear the prey, and he became a man-eater. So they're becoming these like warriors, but they're turning into devils, right? A roaring lion, like in 1st or 2nd Peter, seeking who he may devour, right? The devil. He prowled among the lions, and he was now a strong lion. He learned to tear the prey and became a man-eater. He knew their strongholds and devastated their towns, right? He broke down their strongholds and devastated their towns. The land and all who were in it were terrified by his roaring. Then the nations came against him, those regions around him. They spread their net for him, and he was trapped in their pit. With hooks they pulled him into a cage and brought him to the king of Babylon. They put him in prison. So his roar was heard no longer on the mountains of Israel. So one of these worms, these racist Jews, they like to contact me and come at me like a Satanist in a cartoon or something. Very poorly raised person, very deranged person, very cowardly person who obeys the pedos. And he insists that I tell it in a way that I would never tell it, like some namby-pamby, pipsqueak punk without a speck of heart who harasses God's son because he was so poorly raised, because his genes are so bad, his rearing is so bad, his culture is so bad. So obviously, I'm not going to tell it his way. I'm going to tell it God's way. That's my way, period. And when you see him, tell him to shut up immediately. He's a disgrace, and he's been disgracing his family consistently. Him and everyone like him. Okay. With hooks, they pulled him into a cage and brought him to the king of Babylon. They put him in prison, so his roar was heard no longer on the mountains of Israel. Your mother was like a vine in your vineyard, planted by the water. It was fruitful and full of branches because of abundant water. Its branches were strong, fit for a ruler's scepter. It towered high above the thick foliage, conspicuous for its height and for its many branches. But it was uprooted in fury and thrown to the ground. The east wind made it shrivel. It was stripped of its fruit. Its strong branches withered, fire consumed them. Now it is planted in the desert, in a dry and thirsty land. Fire spread from one of its main branches and consumed its fruit. It also says, or from under its branches and consumed its fruit. No strong branches left on it fit for a ruler's scepter. This is lament and is to be used as a lament. Okay, now it's like the author is itching to tell them that they're not going to be ruling on behalf of God. Okay, that's why he says this is a lament, right? And this is not necessarily the verdict. And he also doesn't know if they're going to masterfully scramble to become number one, but it really was so unlikely that he probably did know that. I mean, this is how it ends, right? And it's very sad that every single day they pester me about the fact that I'm in charge and that they want to pretend that they are. And it's not just the Jew, it's also the white man his own way. He says, look at me compared to the Jew, right? And he uses kind of Hitler scale. I'm tall and I'm this and I got the nice suit. And the Jew, he argues with the Jewish people, what they're arguing, they're scruffy and that they're, superior to them and so on and so forth. And there's the gay who say, well, just because he's gay doesn't mean he doesn't know this, and this. It's like saying just because you're married to a man, you can't, doesn't mean, and obviously it does, that you can't naturally give birth to a kid. You can't. God did not put two gay people together. He put two straight people who should be together, who are in the divine order together, and you people are trying to separate that.